Are you tired of trying to strive for perfection? I don't know about you, but I know I am far from perfect. And you know what? This whole coronavirus thing has the world upside down right now. And the reason why I'm sharing this before we get into the podcast is I have my kids in the background as I'm making this podcast. So you might hear them interrupt a time or two, which is we're doing real life with you. Jason is at home doing real life with us on this episode. So you're going to hear a dog. You're going to hear someone talking, and we've edited a lot of stuff out. But pay attention because it's amazing content, life-changing information. And it feels like we're just sitting in each other's living room, living life together. And I want to invite you in on this amazing conversation. So stay tuned and enjoy the imperfection of this podcast. I've learned so much over this first year of podcasting, and I wanted to share with you guys the 10 most life-changing lessons that I have learned this year. So I created a document, and it's on my website. What you're going to do, you're going to go there. It's going to be 10 life-changing lessons. Click on that button. It'll ask for your email address so I can email it to you. Sign up for it because these life lessons radically changed the way I viewed my life and the way I started living. It helped me to get better in the areas that I've so desperately wanted to see progress and growth in. And because I know they helped me, I really believe that they will help you. And I wanted this to be a gift for you guys. So I really hope you enjoy this gift and go to the website, thewholepersonpodcast.com to get it. It's free. And I hope you guys enjoy and learn as much as I did from it. Today, we have an awesome guest. His name is Jason Schechterle. Jason is a keynote speaker, motivational presenter, and just all around an amazing human being. You know, I met Jason through a mutual friend who you guys have already met on the show, Eric Kelly, who is my real estate coach. And one of the things that amazes me about Jason is how inspirational he is as an individual, but his mindset and attitude towards life. Jason is was a police officer who got trapped in a burning vehicle and suffered extreme burns over 40% of his body, dramatically altering his appearance. His incredible story of survival and his calling now is to just share and to bring life to other people through the lessons that he's learned from the hardships along the way of healing and recovery. Jason represents a human experience at its very best, an uphill climb from despair, and now he feels like the luckiest person alive. Can you imagine that? Like, I can't fathom. Jason is an unbelievable person, motivational speaker. I'm just so excited. Jason, thank you so much for coming on the show today. How are you?
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Good, man. Well, just to, kick it off, man. How long have you been a police officer before the accident?
I'd only been out of the academy for 14 months.
14 months. And so you even returned to the line of duty after recovering then?
Yeah, it took another 18 months of recovery, and then I went back to work. And then finally, about 5.5 years after I retired due to the injuries and some of my limitations.
No worries. Well, man, just share your story, from the beginning to kind of your journey. That way, as an audience, we can hear who you are and what you've learned.
All right. Well, I'd always kind of thought about being a police officer from my high school years, but it wasn't more than that, just a thought. And joined the military. Wanted to get out of, I'm born and raised in Phoenix, wanted to get out, wanted to get a little structure and discipline. Most of the men in my family had served in the military, so I thought the Air Force would be awesome, and it was. It's a great 4 years, and then I came home and got married, had a couple of kids, ended up with a great career working for one of the power companies out here, and then I had, what a lot of us have, one of those aha, life-changing moments with on March 26th of 1999, a Phoenix police officer named Mark Atkinson was shot and killed in the line of duty, and it was my realization that it was my calling to do that job. And so I applied and was very blessed and lucky enough to be given a chance with Phoenix PD. Did the academy, loved every second of it, couldn't wait to get out there, and got off probation after a year. Things were going just remarkably well, and went to work on March 26th of 2001, ironically 2 years to the day after Mark Atkinson was killed on his anniversary. I went to work that day, and I went to work at 3 in the afternoon. I was supposed to work until 1 o'clock in the morning. And about 11:30 that night, I was on my way to an emergency call and approached an intersection that I had a red light. And so I've got my lights and siren on, but you still need to come to a complete stop. Make sure that people with the green light will yield to your emergency vehicle. And, it only takes a second and a half to clear an intersection. But just as I was going to proceed, my patrol car was struck from behind by a taxi cab. The driver was suffering an epileptic seizure, and he was going 115 miles an hour when he ran into me.
Wow. From behind.
From behind. So I didn't see him coming.
That pushed you into the intersection.
That pushed me 270 feet through the intersection.
Wow.
And my car burst into flames. I was unconscious. And miracle upon miracle, twist of fate, timing, you just can't even imagine. But there was a fire truck in the same intersection. And they witnessed what happened, and they were able to drive maybe 50 feet and go to work for me right away, trying to it's not even possible to describe the chaos and the sound and the noise and the fear and just everything that this crew must have been going through with what they were doing, and got me out of the car in about 90 seconds.
Wow. From it happening?
From impact to being out 90 seconds.
Wow.
And then another miracle, I was 2.5 miles away from the best burn center in the United States, Maricopa County Hospital, and I was on their trauma table less than 8 minutes.
From impact.
From impact, yeah. I mean, anybody out there who's been involved in a critical incident, it's hard to fathom how precious those seconds are. And, you often hear that old cliche, people talk about the golden hour. And I mean, I'm on their trauma table less than 8 minutes. That's just unbelievable. And I needed every one of those precious seconds to have any chance. I had suffered burns to 43% of my body. My neck, head, and face were the worst. They were 4th degree, that's the worst you can have. Right down the last layers of muscle into the bone. My shoulders to my hands.
So I didn't know this. I thought 3rd degree was the worst burn. So there's a 4th degree?
So did I. Yeah, I thought 3rd degree was the worst too. Yep, there's a 4th degree in it. Like I said, right down the last layers of muscle into the bone.
Wow. Well, you're just an overachiever.
Yeah. So hey, if you're gonna do something, you got to go all in.
Man.
So, and outside of the my arms, my hands, tops, my legs, my torso was thankfully protected by my bulletproof vest, along with the how quickly they got me out of the car. And
right.
Burns is a tough injury because they will keep on burning. And a lot of times you find, like, if people are burned really bad on their chest, you end up it just continues to constrict until you can't breathe, like piling bricks on your chest, one after another until, and you almost never can survive that. So having my torso spared was huge. So had to get me into surgery right away, had to get all of that dead bacteria-filled tissue off, and I was in a medically induced coma, and just being, my entire appearance just being removed minute by minute. And, the doctors were telling my family, look, there's no way Jason's not going to survive this, never seen burns like this to somebody's head and face. There was not a whole lot of optimism or good news in those first hours or days for sure.
And were you married at this time?
Yes.
How long have you guys been
In
married?
fact, I missed at the time.
Yeah.
Well, we had our 4th anniversary while I was in the hospital.
Wow.
Yeah, while I was in a coma, as a matter of fact.
Okay. And that was, you said in March?
2001, yeah.
Okay.
Just had my 19th anniversary.
Gotcha. Well, congratulations on that, man. So for those of you listening and not watching the podcast, as Jason indicated, it completely altered the appearance of his face. And so I think one thing that many of us struggle with in our lives is identity. Who we are, who God has called us to be, how do we go about walking in that, and how others perceive us or how we want to be perceived. When I think about your situation with losing essentially the way you looked like before, what was that like? Because did you go through an identity crisis yourself? What lessons did you learn through going through that process?
I didn't go through an identity crisis as far as my appearance. I felt very blessed and very lucky to be 28 years old, to be a husband, a father. I already had a lot of things in place that, when an injury like this happens to you at a younger age, you have a lot of fears that you won't be able to achieve those.
Right.
I already had those in place. My identity crisis, I would say a little bit, was being a police officer for me was not a 40-hour-a-week job. It wasn't just something to get a paycheck and some benefits. I mean, it was who I was 24 hours a day. And the fear and anxiety that I could not go back to work, that I could not be being a police officer anymore, that was a big struggle. But I also had that fear eased pretty early on because the department was just so incredible with their support, and they let me know, if you're able to, we will welcome you back to work. And so that helped a lot. And then I started to, thankfully, I had a lot of things enter my heart and mind, understanding that the person who hit me was not targeting me or a police officer. He had made a lot of very bad choices over a very long period of time. And, I thought that I had made a lot of very good choices. One of the most beautiful things about living this life is we are free to live every day making any choice we want. We're not free from the consequences of those choices. And I recognize that. And I wouldn't take myself out of the situation and allow him to go on to the next traffic light and hit somebody else and maybe kill them or alter their lives. And to have that accountability of saying, you know what, I chose this job. I chose to answer up for this call. I chose to drive in this direction. Nothing is just instantaneous. There's no just sudden, tragic, magical instant. There's always a very long series of events that lead up to something like this. And then I got one of my favorite memories, and was my first time feeling a sense of peace, was listening. I was blind for a very long time, completely blind. And I was listening to a TV show one night, just sitting in my chair, couldn't really move. I was so sick, so frail, lost so much weight. And I spent 5 months in the hospital. I'd been home for a few months and just sitting there listening to a TV show, and they told the story of the drowning man. And I had never heard that before.
What is the drowning man?
So the drowning man is, it's about a guy who's sitting on top of his roof and the town is flooding. And a rowboat comes by and throws him a rope and says, "Hey man, swim over here and take you to safety." The guy says, "No, I'm praying to God. I believe in God. He's going to save you." And so the rowboat leaves and a speedboat comes by, throws him a rope, says, "Hey man, let's go." The guy says, "No, I'm good. I have faith in God. I'm praying to God. I'll be okay." So the speedboat leaves. Well, a helicopter flies up, drops a ladder down. "Climb up here and fly you to safety." The guy says, "No, praying to God. I believe in God. I'll be all right." Helicopter leaves. Well, the waters rise up. Guy drowns. Gets into heaven. He's pretty upset. He grants an audience with God and asks God, "How could you let this happen to me? I believed in you. I was praying to you. You let me drown." And God said, "I gave you a rowboat, a speedboat, and a helicopter. What are you doing here?" And when I heard that, I'm like, "Jason, you had a fire truck in your intersection. You had the wife and family and kids. We ended up having a baby 18 months after the accident. I had everything that I needed to overcome what I was going through. It was my choice to see it and to look at it." And I believe that goes for all of us. We all have what we need right here in front of us. You got to see it and you got to use it, as opposed to, it's not going to do me any good to get angry at God. It's not going to do me any good to get angry at the guy who hit me. Not going to do any good for me to say, "Why me? Why not me?" And as far as like my appearance, and this took a couple of years, but as far as my appearance, it was, yeah, you know what? This is terrible. So disfiguring, so unattractive, so many adjectives I could put on it. And I went through numerous surgeries trying to make things better, but I always understood, you know what? I am still Jason. I am still the person inside. My heart was not burned. My soul and my character were not disfigured. That's my face, that's my hands, and that's fine. But I'm not going to allow that to change who I am at my core and what the rest of my life is going to look like. And so I had to use those things, remind myself every day, fight like crazy through, therapy, pain, surgeries. There's just, it would take me hours to cover everything. But those are the things that propelled me forward. And then every small victory, every small achievement was like, wow, all right, you know what? I got this. And I talked about when I was blind, and I was 100% blind for 9 months, and then my eyesight, it wasn't great. It's still not great because of the severe damage to my corneas and the heat and fire. But I always kind of, wherever you're at right now, if it's dark, if it's hard, if it's, you just feel like you can't see the positive outcome, the light, just at least take a couple steps forward and then see what you see from there. Because you're going to see a little more than you saw 2 steps back. Just keep going forward. And I've had to continue to do that. And I still do that. That's 19 years later, I still have to have that mindset and understanding what it takes to get through the good and the bad days.
It sounds like you had, before the accident, a fairly good mental and emotional foundation to help through this process of recovery, of healing. And, I grew up in church, and so I get the concept of speaking things into existence, or, be careful with what you say.
Right.
What was it like for you? Because as you indicated before, you had to make the choice. You made the choice to drive that way. You made the choice to become a police officer. You took personal responsibility. You took extreme ownership for all the choices that led up to that day.
Yes.
And then you also took extreme ownership of the way you're going to choose to react. A
Yes.
lot of times we react out of our emotions, our fears, our anxieties, our pains,
Right.
which makes us emotionally stupid. So how, through all this, did you use emotional intelligence to not let that handicap you?
Well, I think just the solid understanding of, a lot of people are not going to agree with what I'm about to say, but, my family and I go to church, my kids go to private school, I'm a God-fearing man, and I don't look back at that young age and think that I was prepared for this or strong or courageous. I had actually been very lucky in life. 28 years old, I never even had a death in my family. Both of my parents were healthy and happily married. All four of my grandparents were alive and married. I mean, I really was the least prepared person for something of this magnitude. But while I believe very much in God, there are 7 billion people on this earth. And I just never allowed myself to say, you know what, I'm not going to question why, and I'm not going to get angry. And especially the why part, because that's a question so big, I'll never be able to answer it unless, I get an opportunity to ask someday. But for right now, all I can do is live the best life possible. But, I don't think God flies planes into buildings. I don't think he helps. You watch a football game, see those field goal kickers make the sign across. It drives me crazy. I'm like, dude, God, he didn't go to Vegas and drop, $100 on the money line. He doesn't care if you make or miss this field goal. That's how I see it. What God has blessed me with is the ability to choose to do, think, feel, and act however I want. I can absolutely do anything I want. I can lay down in the fetal position right now and cry my eyes out. I can go out and kill somebody if I want to. I mean, you can make literally any decision. You are not free from the consequences of those choices. Is a very simple fact. And there are only 2 things in this world that I want to feel every day, and that is peace and serenity. And when you have accountability for what happens to you in life, it brings peace and serenity, because all of us have a story. I mean, people see me and they think, this is obviously something very bad happened, but we all have scars on the inside. We've all gone through things. It's about life happening to us, and it just happens in different ways. And I would rather believe and choose to feel that I am who I am where I am 100% because of my own decisions, my own choices. It has nothing to do with the guy who hit me. It has nothing to do with what God allowed or didn't allow. It has to do with who I've chosen to be. And that's the person you see sitting.
All right. So let's take this a step further. What if you don't like the person that you are, or some of the habits or addictions or the way you think? How do you go about choosing to become that better person?
Yeah, that's, that is, that's $1 million question. That's like having that'd be like having the numbers to the lottery. I'm very blessed that I've never had to live with like true mental illness. And I think it is, very real. And I've never had those kind of demons, those kind of overwhelming thoughts when it comes to like suicide and addiction and things like that. I do feel, of course, fear, anxiety, anger, that sometimes can get a little not a little, can get very bothersome to me, where I'm just like, yeah, this is not good to feel like this, to feel this level of anxiety to where you can't get up for a few minutes, to feel such an anger that you think you could physically hurt another person. Yeah, those aren't good feelings, but I understand, at least for me, and I can only speak for myself, but I believe in meeting yourself where you are. Meaning, if you're going through something, if you're feeling something, if you push it away, if you hide it, if you say, I'm not allowed to feel that. I don't have time to feel that. It's only going to give it strength and power to keep growing and growing and growing. You have to embrace whatever you're going through. And so for people out there who right now are, battling the coronavirus, stuck at home and they hate it, they're losing their jobs. You got people who have cancer, you have people going through a divorce. Everybody has something, and it's okay to feel whatever you're feeling. If you don't like how you feel or who you are, then changing is your choice. And that is an incredible power. Your mindset, your attitude, your effort is all completely up to you. I don't have the magic formula for that. I can't tell somebody, who's having suicidal thoughts or who has a serious addiction or who hates, who they are as a person. I can't, I'm not going to pretend that I'm holier than thou and I can say, oh, just fuck up and get it done, because that's not really how it goes. But there are resources, and you have to choose to use those.
Jason, I really love your answer about how everything comes down to a choice, and that we have been given everything that we need to choose to do the right things. When I look in my life, there are times that I definitely, even though I've been given the things to make the right decision, whether it's around health, finances, relationship, why do we screw it up then? If we know what's right and we know we have in us the ability, is it just a mindset thing that needs to be redeveloped?
Well, I don't think it's so much you're setting yourself up for failure when you talk about making the right decision.
Hold on. Is there a TV on in the background?
No, there's no TV on. It's my mother-in-law talking, and she's going deaf. So.
Okay. Yeah, we're picking her audio up really clear.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. I didn't.
Oh no! Don't apologize. It's just that time of evening.
No worries.
So I'll start over with that.
Okay.
I think we set ourselves up for failure when we talk about the right decision, because you only know if a decision is right after you know the outcome. And many times we talk about again, I'm big on cliches, and I don't like when people use the word cliche, because I believe in them. Cliches exist because they're powerful. They have meaning behind them. Somebody said something 100 years ago, and we're still repeating it. It's obviously pretty powerful. So I hate to use the term cliche, but people will use the term, you're at a crossroads in life. And it could be about which college to go to. It could be about, something as big as getting married or leaving one job to go to another job. And those are the obvious ones. Those are the big ones. But if you think about it, you are truly at a crossroads in life at all times. So I'll use an example I tried to teach my son very recently. My youngest, he's 17 years old. So we're coming home. I live in Phoenix, pretty big city, freeways all over the place. And where I live is equal distance from two freeways. One that runs north to south, one that runs east and west. And so we were coming home from one of his baseball games, and I just said to him casually, I said, do you want to take I-17 to go home, or do you want to take the 101? And without blinking an eye, he said, I'll just stay on the 101. And I said, okay. I said, then we will never know what takes place down I-17. We will have to accept what takes place down the 101, meaning this is the road we chose. So if we end up getting involved in an accident, if we end up seeing an accident, if we end up getting stuck in a traffic delay, and of course he's 17, he was like, Dad, why the hell did you just tell me that? But I was trying to make a point. We were at a crossroads, and so I wanted to make a point to him that you can only make the choice based on the information you have right now, and there is no right or wrong until you find out afterwards. Now, of course, we made it home safe. So was it the right choice? Sure. I try to really think in very simple terms. So I go to bed at night just like everybody else with the weight of the world on me. You're not supposed to lay down and put your head on the pillow. I don't care who's sleeping next to you. You're alone. And our thoughts, as you well know, as everybody else knows, our mind is a crazy, wild, dangerous place to be. And the thoughts that come across, sometimes it's like, man, I wouldn't even share that with my best friend if they knew what I was just thinking. But you're supposed to lay there and you're supposed to think about your career and finances and the people you love who might be, I'm at the age now where I'm starting to lose people who are part of my family. The circle of life is coming around at my age. And then I worry about my kids and I worry about the coronavirus. My entire living is based off of my public speaking, and it has been completely reduced to zero. It is in ruins right now, my public speaking. And I have no idea when it's coming back. I don't know when the coronavirus is going to end. I don't know when conferences of 500 and 1,000 people. These are the things I think about when I lay down. And, I have plenty of stress, plenty of anxiety, and plenty of like, all right, how am I going to get through this? It's not about, and people look at me and go, well, you should be thinking, oh, I overcame 4th-degree burn injuries. Nothing else matters. That is the most insane thing to ever think. This was 19 years ago. This is old news. I'm good from that. Now I got my current problems. So my point is, you go to bed at night and usually the weight of the world is on you. You wake up the next day, the most inherent desire that you should have, it should come natural to you as a human being. You wake up and you just want to be inspired. Something moved me. Something make me feel good. I don't care if it's that first sip of coffee, reading a verse from the Bible, meditating, checking your Instagram. It doesn't matter. What matters is what works for you. And then I consciously tell myself every single day, without fail, I am going to leave today better than I found it. I'm not worried about yesterday anymore, and I can't worry about tomorrow. But today is mine, and I am going to leave it better than I found it. So when I go to the grocery store, I'm going to put a couple extra shopping carts away. When I go to the gas station, I'm going to make sure something's a little cleaner when I left it. When I talk to somebody, I'm going to be in a better mood than maybe what my real mood is. I'm going to leave them. So that's my goal every single day. And at the end of the day, if I can say yes to that, then I've accomplished my goals, and it makes me feel something. It makes me feel inspired. So I try not to get too caught up in, the things of the past or the things of the future, because that's where anxiety lies. That's where fear lies and regret. And there's not anything that I can do about what happened to me 19 years ago. And I have no idea what I'm going to be doing 19 years from now. So why in God's name, I'm sitting here having a wonderful podcast with you. I'm enjoying the heck out of it. And I'm looking forward to dinner and getting back to one of my favorite shows while we're in this quarantine, turning on Netflix.
What is it?
I mean, what's that?
What's your favorite show?
Oh, they just dropped the new season of Ozark, and I just love. I love this show so much. So I'm on episode 3 of season 3.
Okay.
But so I try to minimize things in the spectrum of time. It's not for me about get me through this day necessarily. It could be just get me to the next hour and let me see what the next hour holds. So I think for most people, and it does come kind of natural, so I'm not trying to disrespect or insult anybody, but when you look at when you are constantly thinking about the big things and the goals you're not achieving or the success you're not having on a grand scale, to me, it makes life just a lot harder. What are the small things? What is next? What is right in front of you? I'm going to have a nice dinner with my family, and then I'm going to get in front of the TV, and then I'm going to get a good night's sleep. And you know what? I'm going to wake up tomorrow, and I'm going to have that same goal. I'm going to leave tomorrow better than I found it, one day at a time. And so I try to really keep things in my own perspective on as small a scale as I possibly can. I can't worry about my speaking engagement that got canceled this week that they may or may not reschedule for next spring. Right. I didn't get paid. I have a lot less money in my account than I had. But if I'm like, oh my God, well, 12 months from now, I hope they reschedule so I can make that money up. Am I really going to worry about that for 12 months? And I probably would have a long time ago, but with what I've learned in life, my perspective is it tends to be a little different. And back to what I said earlier, I'm on a constant search for peace and serenity. And I have found what works for me, but what works for me doesn't work for the next person. And I would encourage people, what does work for you? And then you move toward that, and just, you got to keep it going. It's a rhythm, it's a flow, and it's every single day. It's just life happening. It's not about, I'm sure you know these terms, you've heard from other guests, you use them sometimes. We put these tough adjectives on things, and we talk about our demons. We talk about our battles and our struggles and things like that. And when you say those kind of words out loud, it really adds a lot of weight to what's going on. Whereas it's just simply life happening. What's happening in my life is completely different than what's happening in your life. And it doesn't make it worse, better, bigger, smaller, or really any different. It's just our lives are happening to us. And how do we choose to get through that?
Yeah. I had a question that was at the top of my mind earlier. What question do you want me to ask you? I got three that I typically end with, but
okay.
But I don't want to end yet.
Yeah, I would say we've covered quite a bit. My perspective on religion and my spiritual beliefs. We've covered how I feel about your mindset on a daily basis, and we've covered the accent. To look at me, if you Google my name and stuff like that, it might seem like just this immense amount of stuff, but it really is just that simple. I was just a young, basically rookie police officer. I survived a critical incident with a lot of support, and I've had to learn a lot to get to where I'm at today, because you truly are. I understand my appearance, and you could look at some pictures of me back in 02, 03, and you'd understand why I'm pretty proud. I could win a beauty contest today compared to what I look like back then. But I am who I am. I'm Jason. I'm 47 years old. I've got a great life. I pray every day that what I'm going through and doing now does not end anytime soon. I know it will, but it really is just that simple.
One day, but not soon.
One day, but not soon. But it's a daily. I just love life. I love living life, and I'm in no hurry for it to change or end. It is that simple. And I went through a lot to get to where I'm at today. But I've been where I'm at today for a very long time. Also, this isn't new.
Yeah, it's not.
So no, it's not new at all.
In your last answer that you were giving about wanting to make a small difference, leave it a little bit better, putting the shopping cart away. When I went to Oral Roberts University and I was a part of the missions organization, one of the sayings that we had was leave it better than when you arrived.
Yes.
And so that was a big focus on not just missionally, but I mean, the rooms, the hotels, everything came down to
Everything.
you leave it better.
Everything.
And
Everything.
I'm really glad you said that because I haven't applied that in life. Are you familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk?
No.
Check him out, Gary Vaynerchuk.
Okay.
He's a huge social influencer, multi-millionaire, wants to buy the New York Jets. I mean, really fun to watch. But he says that you underestimate what you can do in a year. Or no, I said this wrong. Hold on here. You overestimate what you can do in a year and you underestimate what you can do in a lifetime. And
That's true.
A year is broken down into daily actions. And I think so many times, personally, I don't feel like I take big enough of an action on a daily basis to get me those large, lofty goals. But here's what's crazy. Years ago, probably 2013, I wrote out a family prayer. And my wife and I agreed on it. And it's not just like this deep, profound thing. It's just, God, we want to see these things happen. And some of them were like, have my own TV show, have a podcast, do this, do that. And I started reading through it the other day. I mean, we prayed that prayer once a day for like a month and then just forgot about it, And then I came across it. And I would say like 90% of that is fulfilled. And they're just small things. And
wow. That's astonishing. Congratulations.
Thanks, man. It blew my mind because one, the power of writing it down, even to go back and remember, wait, these things actually happened. Yes. And when you look back at your life and you're like, oh, wait, hey, these things happened. I'm better than I thought I was off in life than 10 years ago.
Guaranteed.
I remember when I got out of college and Apple was like the it product. And I was so broke. Not only could I not afford an Apple product, but I had a dream of having an Apple phone, an Apple computer, an iPad, being able to have the essential it all. And I thought, like, if I could ever arrive at that spot, I have arrived in life. Well, I have a Mac, I have an AirBook, I have a tablet, I have the phone. I haven't arrived in life, but it's just funny that you make these ideas and they seem so far-fetched, but then they become reality. But the thing is, going back to what I said earlier, is when you make that one decision, like you said, to leave the world a little bit better, to not just the world, but that specific place, that specific location, better than when you got there.
Yeah.
You're creating a habit and a pattern and a mindset to leave the place better. And if for whatever reason someone wants to be impactful in the world and change the world, it's one day, one time, one moment, one person at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you will never see or fully appreciate the ripple effect of what you did, not just for yourself. I mean, you could go back and look at that prayer that you and your wife wrote down, and it might have surprised you a little bit, like, wow, we've accomplished all these things. So the ripple effect through your life, while maybe some seen, some unseen, but when you leave the day better than you found it, you have touched so many other lives that you don't even realize. And the ripple effect, I mean, a simple smile, you don't have any idea what somebody else is going through. If you and I had never met, never seen each other, and crossed paths in a gas station, and one of us smiled at the other one, having no idea what we're going through, that one smile, I have heard stories, it can literally change. It's definitely going to brighten their day. It can change somebody's entire life, and you'll never fully understand it. You'll never see it. You'll never know it. But why not at least err on the side of that caution that, you know what, no matter what I'm going through, I'm going to leave today better than I found it. And life in general, I mean, you have kids, right?
Yeah.
I've been blessed so far to watch my kids grow up. Nothing in this world means more to me than fatherhood. No, nothing. And I have a 26-year-old daughter who's married and finishing up grad school, and what she's going to do in life is going to make the world a lot better. I have a son graduating college this year, and he has achieved so many of his goals and dreams that it's been remarkable to watch, so inspiring. And then I have a junior in high school who's, now thinking about what he wants to do in college and study. And I've been able to get to the point, even though I still consider myself young, and I've actually had these talks with my kids. Again, I talk in huge extremes, and I apologize because I'm not as morbid as I might sound, but I do travel a lot. I'm like, you know what? If my plane was to crash today, it's okay, because I left the entire world better than I found it because of you three. You three are beautiful souls. You are good people. You're going to make a difference, and I got to be a part of that. So when you look at something on that big of a scale, and then you can dumb it all the way down to, I'm going to put a shopping cart away just because some jerk face decided not to, it feels just as good. People don't think it does, but it does to me. I mean, those are the kind of things that mean something to me every day, and that's why I smile and laugh nonstop.
Mm. Yeah. It, it's unique because this concept of leaving the world in a better place, leaving a situation in a better place, what it comes down to is this underlying belief that people are not a distraction or a disturbance. Because I can't tell you how many times I've been trying to get somewhere in a hurry, where I've been trying to rush, and someone wants to stop and talk, or
Yeah.
When we don't treat each other as distractions or a problem or something in the way, and we treat people as how God intended,
Right.
we tend to have a greater impact in the world around us.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, I learned, and looking back on it, I probably wasn't paying attention at the time, but law enforcement helped me learn something very important with, I worked in South Phoenix, and to be honest, back then, I didn't deal with too many what society would call good people.
Right.
And then I was a homicide detective for several years. And so not only did I see some pretty bad stuff, murder, suicide, but I also had to be the person who knocked on a lot of doors and changed a lot of lives permanently, and very difficult things. So I kind of ran the spectrum. But what I learned looking back on that now is that no matter who you're dealing with, no matter who you're talking to, and this is what really upsets me about today's world, when I turn on the cable news and I listen to our politicians and the things that they say about each other, or with just whatever else is going on in the world. Every single one of us is a human being. We were all born with just the true innocence of a baby. And no matter where you're at in life, you have people that you love and care about, and there are people who love and care about you. And how to just disregard or disrespect other people. And something like we mentioned earlier in Phoenix, how people drive around here. I live on a street that is a 50-mile-an-hour zone, which is pretty fast for a city street. And there are people constantly doing 70 plus And in my old law enforcement world, I'm like, hey, 20 over, that's criminal. I would love to put handcuffs on you and take you to jail right now. But above that, all I think about is how can you disregard my time, my safety, where I'm going, and endanger other people like that? I just don't get it. And we do it. And when I say we, I'm just talking about human beings collectively. We do it every single day. And I will never wrap my mind around why.
You're right. Crazy drivers in Phoenix. When I was coming in to Phoenix, like literally moving to Phoenix, I came in I first drove down there in one of our vehicles before I moved everything there. But I'm coming down from Flagstaff. And you're going through the mountains, the twists and the turns, and I'm not 100% sure what's beyond the next turn. So I'm actually, and this is like midnight, and so I'm going a little bit slower than the speed limit because it's night. I'm going downhill in the mountains in an area I've never been before. Right. Yeah, I feel like that's reasonable, dude. I got so many fingers, like at midnight. It was just really, really funny. And I was like, well.
And do you know that stretch of road that you're talking about, because my son, who is graduating college this year, went to Northern Arizona University in Flagstaff. And so I have spent the last 4 years just so anxious and stressed every time he drove there and back, come home for the weekends. That stretch of road, it's 2 hours from Phoenix to Flagstaff. It is currently ranked the 3rd deadliest highway in the entire United States. And it's because of people like you just described, the ones that will flip you off and do 90 down that hill, down those turns, without any regard for their own safety or anybody else's. And it's remarkable. So yeah, I'd rather somebody flip me off than to end up at the morgue. So they can do what they do.
Pretty much. Now I'll tell you what, just side note, edit this out. We only lived in Phoenix for about 3 months. We went there to help plant a church. Relationally, it didn't go well with the pastor that I really didn't know that I went out to help. We lived with them.
Okay.
It was bad. Like, they're nice people, but I was different than they pictured. They were different than who I pictured. And I was out of work for a little bit because I got hit from the car wreck, and then I lost the job because it was a temp job and I couldn't get hired full time because I missed like 2 weeks because of having to go to the chiropractor so much.
Right.
But when we left Phoenix, I'm going up that road in a 27-foot U-Haul, pulling a vehicle loaded. That was the most. I mean, I've been anxious driving, but not nearly as bad as that.
Yeah, that's white knuckling.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It was, and I'm glad we did it during the day. I was pedal to the floor driving 25 miles an hour. It was insane. I was getting passed by Priuses and everything.
Oh yeah.
And constantly it's about, like you said, 2 hours. For the whole 2 hours, I was looking around because I was like, okay, this could go in reverse anytime because it's moving so slow.
Right.
I'm thinking. So I'm constantly being aware of, if that happens, what am I doing? So for 2 hours, I'm just like, all right, 10 seconds later, what's my worst case scenario? 10 seconds later, worst case scenario. Like, for 2 hours, it was just, but I tell you what. So we left December 29th, December 30th is my birthday. And there was nothing more than I wanted to do than to be home here and go to the church that we left on my birthday.
Okay.
I kid you not, that drive was about a 22-hour drive for us because of how much stuff we were carrying. Because normally it's about an 18 or 19-hour drive. And it just took a little bit longer. Dude, I totally broke any, certification laws or whatever. I drove that sucker straight. Like I did
Nice.
not. The last hour was hard. We thought about
Yeah.
stopping 1 hour short of our goal because I was pretty tired,
Oh yeah.
but it was.
Yeah. You can do that when you're younger. Yeah, I've done a few of those drives that I drove. My daughter went to TCU, Texas Christian, in Fort Worth, and the first time I did that drive, I did it all the way through, and I mean it was not the wisest decision, but looking back on it, but I was just like, I'm so close. I'm not gonna stop at a hotel right now. But yeah, that's
Yeah,
I can relate to that.
for sure. So I like to end each episode with the same 3 questions.
All right.
Currently or in the past, what was the self-talk that you most struggled with mentally? The negative self-talk.
Wow, that is tough. That is tough. I do not do a lot of self-talk currently, so negative self-talk currently. So um, I will have to dig deep into
To the
the
past.
past and the negative self-talk that really hampered me was listening to other people's self-talk
Ooh, that is
toward
good.
me, and it was, I can remember laying in the hospital, actually therapy. I left the hospital after 4.5 months, and I had to go to therapy because I was just so, I lost half my fingers, amputation. I'd lost so much weight. I'm blind. I can't walk. I can't talk. I can't eat. I can't bathe. You name it. I'm like a little baby. So I had to go to a rehabilitation center to learn some of the basics. And I remember one of the first few days I got there, because I was a police officer and my accident was such a big deal, it was on the news quite a bit. So I'm laying in bed all by myself in the morning, just woke up, and again, I'm completely blind. I'm waiting for the therapist to come get me for my day. And the radio was on, and they had a news story about me. And it was that I had gotten out of the hospital, and then I was at an undisclosed rehabilitation facility. And the reporter said, Jason is facing 10 years of reconstructive surgeries. And I remember thinking, 10 years? According to who? No, I haven't heard that. I haven't had a doctor tell me that. I don't know that. And so then immediately I went into that mode of like, oh my God, 10 years. 10 years is forever. That doesn't come and go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I had moments like that. I had many doctors, I had many friends who openly said, Jason, you are not going back to work. You got to get that out of your head. You got to quit worrying about that. And I'd be like, no, I am going back to work. I promise you, I'm going back to work. So it was my biggest battle was listening to people and their negativity, when I'm like, this is my choice. I can choose to give up. I can choose to sit in a chair and do nothing, or I can choose to go to surgery. I can choose to go to therapy, and I can choose to tell the doctors what my goals are and see what comes of it. I don't know if I'm going to accomplish it, but I'm going to certainly try. So I didn't have even a lot of negative self-talk outside of like, wow, this is bad. Sometimes the pain is so bad. It's like, Jesus, please, you gotta give me 5 minutes. Just give me 5 minutes where you ease the pain for a second, because I'm not one to take a bunch of drugs and
Yeah.
and back then, listen, nowadays we have that opioid crisis that's killing so many people. It's so dangerous. 19 years ago, 18 years ago, we didn't have that. If I wanted 30 or 60 Percocet, I would get a prescription for it. But I knew personally, I'm like, all right, you have overcome so much. The last thing you want to do is get addicted to
Right.
prescription medication, because then you got a whole new fight on your hands. And so I would only take, for example, I had a surgery and I'd get the pills, Vicodin, Percocet, whatever. And hey, they're great. There's a reason people get addicted to them. They work and they feel good. But 72 hours of taking them, and we would destroy them, get them out of the house, and I was down to a couple Advil, a couple Tylenol, and dealing with the pain. And so there were days when I would pray. I seriously, I can't take this right now. I need some sleep. I need a break. And so I would have that negativity. I shouldn't say it wasn't negative. It was real. I was in pain. And I just needed a break sometimes. So it was more trying to get through what other people would assume or would put on me. And I'm like, you know what? You're not me. And you aren't walking in my shoes. You're not going to take that next step forward. So I appreciate what you're saying, but I'm going to continue on this way. And if you guys want to support me and help me and get behind me, great. And thankfully, I had a lot of people who did choose to believe in me and support me and get me to where I wanted to be.
I have a follow-up question for your story versus going into my next question. I look at my life or my children, and he can get frustrated over something so small that he just can't do.
Right.
As an adult, there are things in life that I just want to happen that I just can't force or make happen. One of the most common things for people is financially.
Yes.
I went to school. I made the choice of going into debt, and I was extremely lucky of only graduating with, I think, like $33,000 of student loans, when my next, best friends were, 80 to 100,000. And I'm really close to paying it off. I have like 3,900 as of today, as we're recording, left.
Awesome.
But for over 10 years, there has been this, I just want to get rid of it. I want to get rid of it. And we paid it down and paid it down. And it just feels like it's something I should be able to do. I have this idea, if I could just close 60 houses, this would be no problem. But I'm closing 15 houses. And so my focus is, okay, how can I close 60? But I can't close 60. I'm not closing 60. I'm not set up that way. There's a lot of things that have to happen in order to make that, which I'm just not there. And I feel like in life, people want similar things in different ways, whether it's money or whatever. They want to achieve something. They want to reach something, but there's this frustration because they have this limitation that they're not able to get it. Now, there's this mindset like, oh, it's a limiting belief. Get rid of your limiting belief. But honestly, Jason, I couldn't go right now, I think, from 15-ish, 18 houses a year to 60. I'm not set up that way. I don't.
That's not realistic.
Yeah, it's not. I could go to 30, but I couldn't go to 60. I'm watching my kids from home currently because of Corona, and Corona's a big impact right now. Heck, my 15 to 18 houses a year, I might have to tear in half right now.
Right.
So here's the follow-up question. You essentially had to go through physical therapy, and you had to relearn so many things. What was the frustration level like, and how did you process that and go through it? Hey, I used to be able to do this, but now I can't, and I have to relearn it. What was that like?
That frustration level was ridiculous on two fronts. Number one, you're right. It is very difficult to go from completely independent, strong, taking care of things, to completely being able to do nothing, not the basic tasks in life. I can't tie my own shoes. I can't put a spoon. I can't make my hand hold a spoon and move it to my mouth to feed myself. So the it was so overwhelming that for me, the small victories ended up being monumental. Meaning, like my skin grafts on my face were so tight after this first surgery that I really couldn't talk. And so I had to go to speech therapy to learn. And I still once in a while, people misunderstand my P as in Paul versus V as in Victor versus B as in boy because my lips don't form right. But back then, I literally couldn't pronounce a word. I remember telling my speech, I'm learning how to talk, right? And I told my speech therapist, I said, you know what's really upsetting me is I can't eat a double cheeseburger. I can only eat a single cheeseburger, and it pisses me off. I mean, that's how simple it was. And I remember her laughing at me, and she said, so you want to eat a double cheeseburger? I said, yep, that's my goal. You have to get me. I don't know how to do it. You went to school, so you got to do it. And she came up with a plan of how to do it. And when I was finally able to open my mouth wide enough and take a bite of a double cheeseburger, I was like, yeah, I mean, you would have seriously thought that I had accomplished something so huge. And I have carried that through to what I do today. I became, and I think this kind of relates to like what you're talking about. When I first decided to become a professional keynote speaker, it was about 10 years ago. And there is a ton of speakers out there, a ton of well-educated, well-paid speakers who are very busy. Now, some, you can be as big as Tony Robbins and stomp your foot and pound the podium and get people all fired up and motivated. And then you have people who are experts in a certain field, like real estate, for example. I'm sure you have heard some wonderful Eric Kelly. I mean,
yeah, he's amazing.
He's amazing. I've been blessed to be in his presence a few times, had lunch with him, and I know nothing about real estate, but I could see that he's very talented and probably passes that along. So when I started speaking, I thought, okay, Jason, your lane is about overcoming adversity. So you need to learn how to tell your story. But immediately, I'm like, I want to do 100 speeches a year. There's 365 days in a year. I should be doing 100 speeches, right? Because that's what I see these other people doing. And I think my first year, I did 8. So a little short of my goal, right?
Just a little.
And yeah, and then I'm like, but I still, in my mind, I was like, I want to do 100. But the next year, I did 14 or 15. And then the next year, I did 20. Well, it's 10 years later, and in 2019, I finished the year with 75 speeches. Still, only 3/4 of my original, like what I want to do. But when I tell people, when they ask, hey, how many of these do you do a year? I'm like, oh, I did 75 last year. People's eyes light up, their mouths fall open, and I'm like, really? Is that good? Because I'm nowhere near what I but every year I keep getting more. I keep doing a few more. So in the simplest of terms, I'm moving in the right direction. If you sold 15 houses last year and you sell 16 this year, you didn't go backwards. And that's all that's got to matter. That's all you have to tell yourself. I did not go backwards, so I can't be doing something wrong. I have to be doing something right. What did I learn and how? Okay, so, but again, when you set goals, when you set numbers, it's great to say them and it's great to write them down. But if you don't achieve them, it does not mean that you're a failure. Your student debt, you said you came out of college $33,000 in debt, right?
Yeah.
You're at 3,900 right now.
Yeah.
You've obviously made a tremendous amount of progress. It'd be great to walk into to whoever holds your student loan. It'd be great to walk in there tomorrow and write that check and pay it off. But that's not necessary. What's necessary is that you have made progress and you are coming to the end of that. And guaranteed, the one thing great about life, I guarantee the day that you pay off that loan, you're going to get about 15 or 20 minutes of relief and excitement, and then something else is going to fall right on top of it.
I hope not. Don't say that. I just had
you know what? Listen, I'm not saying it to be a downer. It's just guaranteed. That's how life happens to all of us. So,
dude, I could promise you, I could have paid off my student loans at least 10 times by now, had that not been the case. Like,
exactly.
I think I've had to get 3 cars in the meantime. This area in my office has flooded 11 times in 1 month. April 2006.
Oh my gosh! Are you kidding me?
No, cost me $7,000 to fix the issue. This room cost $7,000 to fix and outside to get it where it needed to be. Medical debt, dude. Jason, last year my medical debt. Well, let me phrase it. Not my medical debt, but my medical expenses were over $100,000.
Wow.
I had a knee injury, rehabilitation. Let me rephrase that. Not just my medical debt. We had 4 emergency visits and two surgeries last year between our family.
Yeah.
And all that equated over $100,000 easily. Luckily, we had insurance, so we, I think like we got away with $15,000, I think.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
And so, and now we're down very small owing on that. So what's funny is like I could have paid this sucker off multiple times, but you bring that up and it makes me smile and laugh because when we do want to accomplish our goals, there's always things that come up that will get in the way. And not that we have to call an audible away from our, let's use my example, student loan original plan of getting out of debt in that area. But now I just have to make a mid-game Belichick Patriot adjustment. Well, actually, Tom Brady's gone, so that might not work for him.
Big audible.
Yeah, but call an adjustment towards the game plan and just figure out how to do it with.
Well, when you look back, if you took out a piece of paper and if you drew a dot at the bottom that said student loan $33,000, and then you drew an arrow at the top, straight line.
Right.
That this is where I'm going. I've got $33,000 in debt, and I'm going to pay it off. Now, spend a couple seconds looking at that beautiful straight line and just draw as many circles as you can over and over and over again. That's the actual route you're going to take to get to the tip of that arrow. That is exactly what you just described. But we think in terms, especially when we're young, of like, all right, I'm here, and here's where I want to go. Let me tell you something. The route you're taking to get to wherever you're going to be is going to be full of so many twists and turns and peaks and valleys and rain and snow and sunshine. And again, it's just life happening, and it's your life.
Right. So how does a person become a little bit better at dealing with all those twists and turns? Because I think you're right, and it never dawned on me. We think such linear, okay, point A to point B, C, but in really it's kind of like point A to point B to point -2 to, so how do we have the mindset shift of flexibility?
I think the mindset of being flexible is just simply understanding that everybody's path is different, everybody's life is different. People will say life is too difficult. Compared to what?
Right.
God created you and gave you life. Was there something else that he said, well, life's going to be harder than this? We have nothing to compare it to. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. but having the mindset that you just have to have full acceptance of everything that comes with it. And all the things that we've talked about, the adversity, the tragedy, experience death in our family, financial struggles, whatever. All of these things truly are only if we're lucky enough to live a nice long life and experience those things. You're not going to just have every day be the way you want it. You're not going to have every day be, I hate to use the terms easy or good, I don't even like any of these adjectives. It's just accepting your life's going to be the way it is, and it's going to be that way because of your choices,
right?
The choices that you make. And not about bad luck, not about why me, just this is my life, and what am I dealing with right now? I have no idea what's coming tomorrow, none, but I accept that something is, and I'll figure out how I want to handle it and how I choose to make the most of it and learn from it and get better.
Right. So you and I have a same objective in life, which is peace. We want peace in our life. And
yes,
like I told you earlier, I've struggled with anxiety at different points in my life, and I've done a lot better because last year was, it was bad.
It was a bad one.
It was probably, I've had worse moments in life, but as a collective year, it was bad.
Right. Yeah.
And so my question to you is this: what gives or brings you peace?
Oh man. Yeah, I'm telling you, peace and serenity every day, all day, is what I search for, is what I want to feel. And it's not a full-time thing that you get to feel that. That's a tough question for me to answer, because for me to have peace and serenity, I need an awful lot of things going on. I need to know that my kids are safe and healthy and happy. I know that I need to be providing for them still as they're grown. If they need something, I need to know that I'm achieving my goals. Did I leave the last meeting I was in? Did I leave the last stage I was on? The room I was in, the grocery store? Did I leave it better than I found it? I have to constantly ask myself these questions, and I have to be able to answer them affirmatively. And when I don't answer them affirmatively, that's when things are not peaceful and serene. So while that's my ultimate everyday desire and wish and goal, I understand that it's not always going to be like that, but I know what I need. And there'll be plenty of nights my wife is wanting to go to bed. She's a school teacher. She goes to bed a little earlier, a lot earlier. I'm kind of
she ain't teaching right now.
Well, online she is. Not in the classroom. But she'll go to bed, early. And my kids are old enough that they're in their rooms. They don't need to be just sitting out hanging with dad. And there'll be nights, it could be 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and I'm not feeling the peace that I need to even think about going to sleep. What can I do? And there's some nights where I'll pull up one of my favorite songs that I know will put me into a place I want to be. I can find a show. My wife and I was just talking about this last night. We were laughing. She's not a big rerun person, doesn't like to rewatch. And I'm a huge rerun person. I love knowing every word of this show, so that mind-numbingly, I don't even have to concentrate. I don't have to think about it. I can just sit there and enjoy it and laugh if I need to. But I'll do something like that, or I will turn everything off. put my phone away, turn the TV off, and just sit there and think about, Jason, just tell me 3 things you're grateful for today. Just 3. And
can I make an observation?
Yeah.
So, and the only reason why I'm able to make that observation is because I feel like it's mild. Well, not mild. It's true for me too. Having control over things in life make me feel at peace because I can control the circumstances. So let me re-change this. Okay. Despite circumstances, how can we have peace? Because what I'm learning is I can't control Corona. I can control me.
Great example. Yeah.
When I look at Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, they had so much peace from what I can tell. And Daniel, even when Daniel got thrown in the lion's den and Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego thrown into the fire, like they willingly did that.
Right.
And their idea was, well, our God will save us. And if he doesn't, that's fine. I'm just like, how do you do that?
Yeah, no way. No way. But you're right. You bring up a great example. The Corona thing. I mean, in a lot of ways, things suck for so many people right now on different levels. People are losing their jobs. People are stuck at home. I'm not able to get out and give speeches. My kids aren't in school. My son's graduation from college got canceled. A once in a lifetime beautiful experience just erased. And that's just in my own backyard. But millions and millions, billions of people across the world right now are suffering from this, and it's out of our control. It started in some little village in China. We didn't create it. We didn't ask for it. We didn't expect it. But what good does it do to, I mean, I'm freaked out. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm nervous and I'm worried, and I want my family to not get it and to be safe. And so we take those precautions. But does it suck? Ethically, yes, every day it sucks, and it can cause anxiety and anger and things like that. But it's not in my control. If it was, I'd be a billionaire. I could go solve the problem and take care of it, but I can't. So what you're saying is a great example, and you find peace in things you can control, but not a lot of things in life you can't control.
Exactly.
I mean, there's hardly anything in life that you can control. Your attitude, your effort, your mindset, that's what you can control, and that's really it.
Right. So here's my last question for you.
Okay.
What's the best decision you've ever made?
The best decision that I ever made?
Yep.
Well, that's pretty easy. Growing up, I was that old-fashioned kid, one with the white picket fence and the family and the kids and all that stuff. Leave it to Beaver, which a lot of your listeners are probably going to be like, "What the hell is that?"
Gosh, Wally.
Yeah, exactly. But I wanted that, and I got married pretty young, 24 years old.
I beat you by 2 years, man. I got married at 22.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Yeah, my daughter got married at 24, and I'm like, "What the hell are you doing?" She was kind of like, "Don't be a hypocrite there, Slim. It worked out for you." So, yeah, easily in life, the best decision I ever made was marrying my wife, because, again, I didn't know it at the time. Right. And marriage is very difficult, right? It's not.
Difficult.
It's not all rainbows and lollipops. I mean, we change a lot as men and women as we age, as we go through things in life. And then you throw in some life-changing adversity, which, for me, it was catching on fire, and it greatly disrupted her life and obviously mine. And we had to figure out how to come together on that and have compromises and fights and work together toward things. But yeah, when you ask me just what's the best decision I ever made, it was marrying my wife, because she's gotten me through to where I'm at today. And it's fun to look back on that, because I didn't know that. I just wanted to marry her when I was 24. You know what I mean? Right. I was like, I want to marry this woman, and everything's going to be perfect, because that's what you think. when you're 24? Well, now that I'm 47 and, one minor fire later and 3 kids, it's fun to look back and be like, damn, Jace, good choice. Good decision. Way to go.
That's awesome.
Give myself a little pat on the back. So
Right.
that was it.
For sure. Jason, man, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast today. Where can people find more information about who you are and what you do, or if they wanted to hire you for an engagement?
Well, everything you need to know about me is at burningshield.com. It's my website. I have a podcast. I have a book that's available on Amazon, also titled Burning Shield. All my contact info is on that website. Emails, I'm the only one who checks them. And a lot of different pictures and details about my speaking and my life. The book is something I'm very proud of. So I'm very easy to get a hold of, very open, very active on Instagram and Twitter. And my last name, Schechterli, when you spell it out on Google, you'd be shocked. I'm shocked at the ridiculous amount of stuff that comes up. So I guess in some ways it's good to have a unique last name. And so I'm easy to find.
You actually, surprisingly so. As we were talking, I was Googling you because you talked about you look like a supermodel now compared to after. And so right when you said that, I don't know if you noticed, but I was looking away for quite a while. That's what I was doing. I was Googling on my phone your previous pictures. That was harder to find, actually. But you're right, bro. You are, you look so much better than after the accident. So congratulations on that.
Well, thank you very much. Age and doctors have done wonders for me. So I'm very content with.
You're Benjamin Butler, this, right?
Exactly.
But man, thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, thank you. I really, really enjoyed it. I think you got a great thing going. I can't wait for your listeners to hear it.
For sure. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, bud. Take care.
When I started this podcast, it was important for me to lead by example, that I wouldn't hide behind a fake mask, acting like I've arrived and speaking from the mountaintop. My whole purpose was to be vulnerable about where I was, my failures, my struggles, and my successes, so that I could be a bridge, that I could be a gap in this process of showing people how to change in the areas of faith, family, finances, friendship, fitness, and fun, because that's exactly where I'm at and what I'm doing. And I had a coach years ago, and he was the first coach I've ever had. And he did it for a very affordable rate because I couldn't afford anything more than what he offered me. But he told me this: Evan, someday you're going to get in a spot where you're going to be able to give back to others. And I want you to remember what I'm doing for you here and now, that it's made affordable so that you can actually go through it. He goes, I believe in you, and I trust that you'll do this. And so because of that, it resonated within me that at a certain point, when I felt I've had enough hard knocks that I had something to offer other people, I would start a coaching program. And this is that. I am now starting a coaching program, and I'm going to make it affordable because by the graces of someone else that helped me out when I was first starting my journey, I wanted to do the same for other people. So I'm going to offer a free 15-minute coaching phone call to anyone that wants it. You can go to the website, thewholepersonpodcast.com, and sign up for that free coaching phone call. And if you're looking to have a longer, extended coaching relationship outside of that first 15-minute phone call, I have the prices right up front. I'm open about it, and I'd be more than happy to see if we'd work well with one another and can help you reach and achieve the goals that you have in life. Guys, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the show.